Hello friends, I'm Dr. Cynthia Chapman and you can reach me through my website at mycognitivetherapy.com. Today's practice is about finding your refuge. Refuge is defined as the condition of being safe or sheltered from pursuit, danger, or trouble. Can you remember times when you could have used some shelter from these things? I know I can. Finding refuge is a practice that allows us to find rest and find some shelter from our troubles, fears, and our vulnerabilities by bringing to mind things that create a sense of reassurance and safety. In this practice, we're going to take some time to allow ourselves to focus on the refuges we have in our faith, relationships, and other resources. This will be for educational purposes only and not a substitute for professional mental health. You can benefit greatly when you practice this regularly or as often as you want to or need to. Remember that the neurons that fire together wire together. So that means the more often you bring your mind to this awareness, the more easily your mind will default to this way of thinking. Okay, so let's start by finding a nice quiet spot to sit or lie down in. Take some nice relaxing breaths, softening your belly as you breathe in and out. Feel free to do this with your eyes opened or closed. Soft inhalation in and a relaxed exhalation out. Bringing your attention to this moment and allowing the things outside of this experience to just fade away. Okay, first bring to mind something that for you brings you comfort, safety, and protection. It can also be something that you believe feeds you, fills you up, or inspires you. There are really many options here, and at different times you can bring up different things that are a sense of refuge for you. For example, one thing as a refuge could be your faith, God, or a spiritual practice. Another place of refuge can be relationships. For example, the love from family, a caring community, friendships, or other loving relationship. Specifically, you can think of the love, loyalty, or care that they have for you. Or you can bring to mind the desires that they have for you to be well and succeed in life. It could be more than one relationship, but essentially ones where you believe that they're there for you and on your side. Another source of refuge can be a place that you've been to. Maybe it's a place that's really beautiful and where you felt comfortable and safe. Another option to find refuge in is in a really good feeling, like of gratitude or well-being or goodness. And lastly, you can find refuge in a body of teachings that has been a source of knowledge or wisdom for you. Now go ahead and select one of these options you have considered. Think of this as your refuge. I'll call it your refuge from here forward. It's okay if more than one refuge comes to mind. We're going to consider going to this refuge from different perspectives. Think of going towards your refuge. Imagine that you have entered this refuge more fully. See if you can imagine that you have arrived into it. What would it be like for you to feel like you're in the refuge? Now let's imagine that that refuge is already inside of you, part of you, residing in you. Imagine what it's like to operate as if that refuge is in you. What's it like to imagine that love, wisdom, faith, God is in you and you are going out into the world with this as your internal refuge. Consider thinking about it as if you're coming from this refuge, like coming from the knowledge that you are loved, or coming from a place of wisdom, coming from faith, and coming from the belief that God is with you. Now let's consider resting in your refuge. Resting is ceasing to work in order to relax or refresh oneself or recover your strength. So allow yourself to rest in your refuge. Consider allowing yourself to relax in your refuge and allowing yourself to be refreshed by it and that it's recovering your strength. Imagine yourself being grounded in your refuge, allowing yourself to deepen into it. Get a sense of being supported by your refuge, resting in God, resting in love, wisdom, resting in your faith or other important teachings. Lastly, see if you can imagine yourself being carried along by your refuge, that it is supporting you and moving you from one situation to another, that it is with you and taking you wherever you go, that it's keeping you afloat. Or you can think of your refuge steadily and continuously coming through you like a stream, like a steady stream, that you're living this refuge, that your life is an expression of this refuge. Now that you're having the sense of refuge in you and with you, see if you can imagine your refuge is sinking into you, that it is going into the depths of your mind and heart, as if it were a soothing balm soaking into you, or a gold dust settling deeply into you. Maybe you can sense it expanding throughout your body. If your refuge is an idea or concept, then perhaps you can imagine you're growing in your confidence in its truth. Just keep revisiting the idea that this refuge is making its home in you and that you can sense it growing and deepening inside you. Just know as you're doing this, you're inclining your brain to default to this way of thinking. The more that you revisit these thoughts, feelings, and felt sensations, the more that it is being integrated into your mind and memory. And the neurons that fire together wire together. As we bring this practice to a close, it has been a pleasure to share this with you. I hope you experience the comfort and assurance that I and many of my clients do when we practice this. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. If you'd like to know more about how I help my clients, feel free to reach me at mycognitivetherapy.com. Thank you and take good care.